welcome back to Before the Ball Dropped podcast. We're your hosts, James,
And Rebecca.
and we're coming back again with another episode. And this episode is going to be all about Resident Evil, which is a franchise that started in the 90s and still going strong to this day.
Mm-hmm. Yes, a very big series. Very big.
Yes, yep. Started in 1996 with the release of the PlayStation 1 title, Resident Evil. A lot of us have very fond memories of that. And going past that over the years, just to see where the series has gone since the beginning is really, really cool. I like seeing a series thrive and survive after so many years.
Well, I guess it means they're doing something right if it's surviving so long.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Surviving. Like survival horror. Survival.
Yeah, exactly.
That wasn't even like a pun intended. We just said it.
Right?
Surviving.
It's kind of ironic when you think about it.
Yeah. Yep. We've been surviving with it this entire time. First off, your first experience with the Resident Evil franchise, whether seeing it or hearing about it, can you recall that?
Yeah, so back when Blockbuster was still a thing, my father would rent us a movie and game on Friday nights. So one time I remember specifically that we got Resident Evil for the N64, and I think it was two. Maybe not. I might be remembering wrong, but it was definitely Resident Evil for the N64. And I remember just trying to play it, and I was not very good at it. I don't think I ever got past the first level at all. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, wow, this is a hard game. And then I returned it, and I never even thought about Resident Evil again until years later when 4 came out. And then I started getting back into the series.
Oh, yeah. And Resident Evil 2, you played for the 64, which... Yeah, Resident Evil 2, I remember it being quite challenging, a leap from the first game, especially I thought at the beginning of the game. If you might have been thinking about the same part too. When you're right at the beginning of the game, there's just like a horde of zombies that you have to like run past to get into the gun shop at the beginning.
Yeah.
To get to safety. Yeah, and like as a kid, I just kept getting destroyed by those zombies. I was just like so stupid as a kid. I did not know how to freaking get past them. I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. I was just a shitty little kid. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It was a hard level. Like, it's a hard game, especially with the controls.
Yeah.
I think the controls are the reason it was so hard, and the camera.
Mm-hmm. Tank controls.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those tank controls really did a number on me as a kid too. Yeah, my first experience with Resident Evil was the first game in '96, but my dad got the PS1 at his house and got that game. Really, I didn't play that, really. I tried to. I just didn't like the controls, but I liked the game. I was fascinated with the game, the music in it, and just like how creepy everything was. And so I just watched my dad play it. So I remember watching my dad play through the entire first 2 Resident Evil games, actually, and just being so excited when he finished the first game. And then when he got the second game, I was excited to hear that he got that. So I went over there that weekend, and yeah, it was exciting every time he turned on the PlayStation that weekend and decided to play some more. I was like, hell yeah, can't wait to watch that. That was exciting. So the first couple Resident Evil games were definitely special and very memorable, because my dad to this day still jokes about the original Resident Evil game because of the voice acting within that game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like just how bad it was, and like the story behind why it was so bad was like because obviously the creator and director Shinji Mikami, he obviously, he's Japanese, and he wanted characters to speak English. He brought them over there to record the lines, but he didn't know what sounded natural for like an American. He just wanted something that sounded cool, I guess, and like that's why we got what we got. It just sounded like he just had them say things in such a weird tone, and to him it sounded okay. To him it sounded normal. Yeah, but to anyone playing it in the West, it was like, what the fuck? Like, but it made it funny. Me and my dad always mimic Barry, especially. Like, he had probably the best lines in that game, in the original Resident Evil 1. And it's like, I hope this isn't Chris's blood. He was my friend too, you know. It's Forrest. Oh my god. It's so funny, like, just their voices.
I remember reading something recently about something like that. I forget the game that it was associated with. But apparently, people were saying like it was a modern game, and it just, the dialogue was so off, and people were like, why is the English voice acting so weird? And it's because the characters are still lip syncing to the Japanese, like, translation. So the voice actors had to time it specifically to match the lip syncing of the Japanese. That's why sometimes they'll be like, I thought this was cool. Like, you know, like they do like a dramatic like pause and everything. I forget which game it was though, but
yeah, that sounds very Resident Evil-esque right there.
Yeah, it might have been Final Fantasy actually.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up again, but it's that just reminded me of that.
Yeah, some of the voice acting in 10 I remember, like, too, like, at first, like, when I first played it, was kind of like...
That was it. It was 10.
Odd sounding, too, for Final Fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 10.
It was their first voice acting adventure. Yeah. Yeah, Titus had some funny, like, lines in that game.
Yeah. But speaking of the, like, experience with Resident Evil, I'll save one of my major questions for the end. But, are those two the ones that made you fans of the series? Like, you played them and then you were like, oh yeah, I have to keep playing every single game that comes out after this.
Yeah, watching my dad play through the first two Resident Evils really drew me into the series. And by the time the third game came out, like, I was like actually starting to play the games myself because I was older, and so I remember playing the third game when my dad was having trouble with certain parts. I would take over and try to help, like, with like try to solve some of the puzzles, and then eventually I started my own file as well, and just I enjoyed the hell out of 3, Nemesis, and the remake that happened years later was disappointing to a lot of people. I enjoyed it, but it was definitely left a lot to be desired because Nemesis is like such an iconic game.
I've heard that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I never played 3 myself. I think the ones I've only actually played are, it's not a long list. It's 2. I have played 2. I'm playing through the remake right now. And then 4 and 9, actually, recently. I did play 5 a little bit, but 5 was one of those ones where I couldn't just get into it.
Yeah. We'll have to do a co-op run through of 5.
Yeah, I do have it on the PlayStation, so... Oh, yeah, Revelations. I forgot about that.
Revelations, yeah.
Revelations was
Revelations 1.
I liked 1. I couldn't get into 2 as much. I played it, but I didn't really like it as much.
Interesting, yeah. 2 is one that does have a lot of mixed reviews. I like it mainly just because of the fact that, as a legacy fan, like, from the first game, like, I thought it was cool that they introduced, you know, they brought Barry back for the game, and they also introduced his daughter Moira into the series as well, and she was a pretty interesting character, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, like, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I always like when they experiment with, like, the, like, you know, different generations of, like, these characters, which I hope they continue to explore into the future as well.
Yeah, because I didn't know either playing the most recent one that Grace's mom is actually in the series before. I didn't know that until someone had told me in chat.
Yep, good old Resident Evil Outbreak on the PS2 with Alyssa Ashcroft. Yep, she was one of the protagonists in that.
Yeah, so see, it's nice to that they built this world. Like you can tell that they've put a lot of planning into this. The whole series
Hmm.
isn't just being carried by Leon; it's being carried by all the characters.
Yeah, it's great. Normally in like horror stuff, people talk about the characters being a secondary thing, but I've grown to like be attached to like any of the characters, like all of them pretty much, because I like that they actually try their best to write for these characters and give them like their own personalities and stuff like that. Like when you watch like horror films, there's very few characters in those films that are well written unless it's like the final girl or whatever, like in the series, in the movies and stuff like that. So it's really cool seeing a horror franchise where like the characters you're playing as, you actually start to care about that character, and it's cool seeing them come back in subsequent games, and you're like kind of excited to see them again. You're like, oh shit, yeah, I went through hell with this person before, and it's good to see them back again.
Yeah, no, it's always a good feeling. Like I said, I wish I had gotten into it at a younger age, but I don't think it was really my cup of tea when I was a kid, especially the part that I had to play for number two, and then not being able to beat it was frustrating enough with the controls and the camera. I think it just kind of put me off. I didn't actually play another one until Revelations, and then I didn't play another one until I recently picked up the 4 remake in Japan.
Yeah, Resident Evil 4 Remake's one of the most well received games from the franchise. Well, 4 in general has always been a lot of people's favorite game. Uh, Personally, I always liked it too. Was never one of my favorite games in the series, but I could see why people love it, for sure. And the remake was actually stellar, honestly. So,
See,
like,
I hate the.
improved everything.
Yeah, like, I really don't like escort mission stuff. So having Ashley just following me around all the time just kind of, like, I don't know. I'm sure they improved it from the original game in that way as well, but because I've never played the original.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
even just
they
having
did.
having to keep her like alive the entire time was kind of annoying.
Yeah, I always wish that like it would have been like more or less like that she would eventually get a gun as well and be able to use it. But like I understand like the story that they were going for with her. Obviously, that wasn't something that would be realistic for like just the president's daughter to like randomly just all of a sudden be shooting zombies and shit. So like the way that they handled Grace in Resident Evil 9 was like really like realistic, obviously, and like Grace was a character you could identify with because honestly, like she's never been in a situation like that before. So in contrast to Leon, who's been through this type of shit before and doesn't fear anything, like playing as Grace, like at first, obviously she's like scared shitless. Like if you actually play her parts in third person, they really did a great job. If you actually just watch her facial expressions, like if you just stop like and just like zoom in on her, like and focus on her, she looks fucking like absolutely terrified the entire time you're playing as her, and it's like I think that's a really cool touch.
Yeah, it annoyed me the first time I played it, but the second time I was like, all right, I kind of understand. I was like, we would all be like this if a zombie apocalypse just happened and we were like kidnapped by some creepy doctor and some monsters were chasing us around a room.
Yeah, and Grace's reaction to firing the Requiem the first time is amazing.
Yeah, that was a nice touch.
She's like, "Oh my god, what the fuck?"
Yeah, right.
Such a huge ass gun. Just Leon just hands it to her. Here, you can use this.
I'm
It'll be
surprised they
okay.
gave her that one out of all of them because
I
like
know.
like it's just such a big gun and he's just like probably so confident in himself that he's like, yeah, just take it, it's fine.
You'll be okay. You can do this.
Gives this woman who weighs like probably 100 pounds soaking wet this huge gun that weighs as much as her.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. um, and we're talking about like characters in the series that people might not like. I have friends that like and dislike the Resident Evil 7 and 8. Well, they like the games, but like not the characters as much. But like, I thought that the Winters family was actually a pretty cool like deal as well for both 7 and 8. It was weird playing 7 because it was first person, like all the way through, and they never did release a patch like they did in 8 to make it third person because they wanted to make it a certain level of horror in that game, which it worked for that game being first person. Um, but you never really got to see what the guy you're playing as, Ethan, looked like at all. I always thought that was like kind of like odd, but it was like a different like a departure from the series at that point. But bringing him back in the 8th game was also pretty neat, and then adding the third person mode, but you still couldn't see his face was funny as hell. Like they would not let you look at his face even in third person.
So now we just don't know what he looks like.
You do get to see him at the end of the DLC in 8 as well. The DLC just takes place like 20 years after, and you play as Rose, his daughter, and that's a really fun DLC chapter. I really enjoyed playing that, and was just cool seeing like she never really got to meet Ethan, and then she gets to see him there at like the very end, like, and you do get to see his face, which is kind of cool.
Finally, it's probably because they didn't have a concept for him, so they were like, quick, make something up.
They're like, here's what he looks like. You finally get to see him.
I never I have 7, I think, and I have 8, I think. I have to double check, but no, I don't have 8. I don't have Village. I do have 7 though, and that one was a weird one. I think I can see why people started to fall off at 7, because you went from like a typical zombie story to, you know, like an incestual family zombie like it just kind of threw you off a little bit.
Yeah, the Baker family was super fun though. They were so terrifying. Like especially Jack Baker. Like dude, like him stalking through the hallways and shit like that was actually fucking horrifying.
No, I don't
and
like
some
those.
of the scenes with him. Yeah, some of the scenes with him, like when he shoots himself and shit. Like I don't know, like it was pretty fucking cool. It was pretty rad. Yeah. That was another game where you briefly got to play as a second character. In the first 7, you got to play as Ethan's wife Mia for like a very brief period of time there as well. Mm-hmm. Which made it weird that they didn't have a mercenaries mode in 8, because that would have been, or 7, because that would have been kind of cool. They never did. They added all these weird mini games that came out after, and it was like Jack Baker's birthday party and like all these other weird things. Then they had, of course, the Chris Redfield DLC and the Zoe Baker one as well, where you play as Jack Baker's brother.
Yeah, that was.
I don't know. Seven's very interesting. It was a mixed bag. Village was also like a really different game, but also I enjoyed Village a lot more than the 7th game. So
I enjoyed the amount of people thirsting over Lady whatever her name is,
yeah,
whatever.
Lady Dimitrescu.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was funny. I don't think I played 8 though. I watched my friend play it. He speedruns it occasionally. But I think that it's always good, obviously, to take a change of direction in a series, because they were probably thinking like it's stale, so they want to change it up a bit. But sometimes changing the formula in a 25-year-old game isn't always the best, because people are expecting the same formula, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've always appreciated like stuff trying to change around. It works for some series, like the Final Fantasy franchise is a perfect example of it. like they always are trying to innovate new things. And oddly enough, the games that are like the least well received are my favorite ones because of the fact that they did something different with them, like Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy 13. Those were like super unique games. 16 as well, another one that's like, in 15 too. Like, they've been innovating all the time, and they don't rest on their laurels. But somehow every game still feels like Final Fantasy because they have all the same hallmarks of it, which is the amazing music, the amazing characters, the stuff like the Chocobos or characters named Sid and Biggs and Wedge, things like that. But they're always constantly moving and changing, which I respect. Resident Evil does the same type of thing, while also to me not losing its identity. Survival horror. Some of the games are less survival horror, more action based, but nine felt like the return to the survival horror, like once again that we come to know from the first few games in the series. So yeah, especially Grace's section of the game.
Yeah, like not being able to fight is probably one of my biggest fears in video games, which I think that's why I don't click with the Resident Evil series as much, or I didn't at least, because running out of ammo, not being able to fight, things stalking the halls, like I'm playing through 2 right now, the remake, and just having Nemesis around the corner at any second, it's terrifying. It's terrifying.
Mr. X.
Yeah, him. Sorry, Mr. X.
Mr. X. I loved seeing him again in Resident Evil 9.
No, I didn't want him. He's creepy as hell.
Leon was like, "Oh, I remember you." He gets socked by him. He's like, "I remember that too."
No, even in 9 with like the spider section, like being... It's the stalking, I think, that I hate the most. Like, just let me take them out. I don't want to be stalked. So when I went in on my second run with the spider section, I had more ammo and everything, and I was like, "Oh, you're done for. It's done." And I was like, "I'm stopping you right now."
Oh man, yeah. I thought that was kind of a neat thing too, because Leon's been through so much. He's been in Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 6, and then obviously if the movies are canon that he was in, like, he's been through so much shit, so nothing's gonna scare him except for apparently he was kind of creeped out by the spider, which I thought was funny.
Well, I would be too. Who wouldn't be?
I would too, yeah. It's a fucking spider, so I don't blame him. Like, yeah, zombies, whatever. Fuck spiders, though. Holy fuck.
Can we also, like, appreciate the fact that there's such a big plot hole in the middle of this game, and also the end, where Leon's like, "I didn't shoot any vitals." And then it's like, it cuts back to me just shooting all of Emily's vitals.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did they write that in at the last second? Like...
Yeah, that was interesting. Which also reminds me of all the people talking about the singing zombie lady. Too.
God.
They were like, "Oh shit, we could bring her back too with Elpis. We can use Elpis to bring her back. We didn't hit her vitals." Oh man, that was a really good design for a zombie too. That lady, like, very unique.
I don't know. I never let a single note out of her mouth. As soon as I heard her start to sing, I just shot her right in the face. Yeah. I was like, no.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. The whole There's a lot to discuss with 9. We can circle back to 9 again here in a minute. There's another game that in the series that a lot of people definitely hate, and for a good reason. I can see why, but I enjoyed it, which is Resident Evil 6, which also had Leon as well in it. I liked it because it was different campaigns split up into different. You can choose what one you wanted to play as, and they were all co-op, so that was also fun that you could play them with your friends and stuff. It didn't really feel as like full as like the other Resident Evil games, and like the antagonist was like very boring, especially following up from Wesker in the 5th game. Playing against this guy Simmons like as like the main antagonist of the Leon campaign was just kind of weird. He wasn't very exciting. He was pretty basic. But for what it was, I enjoyed it. It did. That is the game that obviously featured the return of Sherry, who we hadn't seen since she was a child in Raccoon City in the Resident Evil 2. She was now an adult in 6, and teaming up with Wesker's son Jake, which was also probably my favorite campaign. Was her and Jake's campaign. I love playing as Sherry with her shock rods. Like it's so fun, just like zapping zombies with like these fucking zap sticks. Or playing as Jake and then following that up with like suplexing the zombie and crushing their head. So like, yeah, a lot of people, I'm sure maybe you were going to bring this up later on, and we'll talk about it later on too. I was just going to say one thing about Sherry as a character and who she could possibly be married to, and that would probably be Jake from Resident Evil 6. That would make the most sense.
Thank you.
Anybody
yes.
saying she should be married to Leon is weird as fuck, because
Yes.
that's just weird, because Leon saved her when she was a little girl in the second game.
Yeah, I
That
agree.
would just be weird if they were married.
I agree.
Yes. So we'll get that out of the way. That's not my prediction of who Leon's with. He's not with Sherry.
It's
She's
not my
with Jake.
prediction either.
Sherry and Jake are a thing.
I never.
They had good chemistry in that game.
Yeah, and like I never even got that vibe from Sherry and Leon in 9, so I don't even know why people would think that. They're just friends.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I never played 6 either.
Mm-hmm. That's another one we could play through on co-op actually too. Online that could be like a series that we do on YouTube. So we could do 6 or 5 and just do a playthrough of that together. And yeah, I'd be down for that anytime, honestly.
Sure, why not both? 6 and 5.
Yeah, we'll do them both. That'd be sweet.
Cool.
Hell yeah. So yeah, we've covered a lot of the mainline games. Well, for the most part. Then Revelations 2, like we talked about that already. Something about the series that I really appreciate is the Mercenaries mode. I mentioned it not being in 7, and currently as things stand, it's not in 9 yet, but I have confidence that they're going to add it to 9 soon, because they did say that there's DLC coming, story DLC plus minigame DLC, and I really do hope it's the Mercenaries mode, because 9 has probably my favorite combat in the entire series so far. So being able to just binge hordes of zombies and rack up points and unlock like new outfits for the characters and stuff would be super cool. So Mercenaries mode's always been my favorite like mini game in like any survival horror like video game. It's super fun.
Yeah, I think they've already introduced an aspect of it, so I would be very surprised if they didn't go ahead and just full on put Mercenaries out in 9.
Yeah, I would love that. You could have obviously Grace and Leon as playable characters, but I think you could also integrate characters like from who were in 8, like, you know, just port them on over from like, you know, the character models and everything else and their way their combat works, like Chris and Ethan and everybody else from Village. Then you could add obviously Alyssa Ashcroft, even since I think she's getting her own DLC coming up for 9, so though she'll already be like integrated into the game anyway, so you could add her possibly. And the other character I would add to a possible 9 Mercenaries mode would be Zeno. I think that's a very underutilized character that they made there, and kind of just like fumbled him at the end, because like he seemed like he had so much promise. That character had a lot of promise, and then it was just abrupt at the end with him.
That's true, yeah. I felt like that last boss fight was kind of underwhelming with him. Like, we didn't even get to fight him.
Yeah, it's like Zeno just was there. Everybody was like, oh my god, this guy reminds me of Wesker. First time I saw him, I thought, holy shit, Wesker's back? How did he survive that super death that we gave him in 5? Like, I was like, how the hell's Wesker back?
Yeah.
But yeah, Xeno. There's a lot of theories about Xeno, Wesker clone, child from the Wesker project, things like that, because he has similar powers to Wesker as well, and very similar design. But yeah, like for them to just be like at the end of the game, like him just be like, "Where's my powers?" Like that was the dumbest thing ever.
Right? That was kind of weird.
like, like I was like, "Really, dude? Like you were cool for a while, then you had that shitty line at the end." Because I was like, "That's so dumb, bro." So yeah, he'd be fun to have as a playable character in a mercenaries mode for 9.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that they've already introduced the aspect with the combat point system. So I would be very, very surprised if they didn't go ahead and just do it.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I loved about Leon's gameplay was it reminded me of that because yeah, you got points for killing zombies and used them to upgrade weapons and buy new weapons and armor upgrades, and that was cool. Like I like that. It in a way reminded me of COD zombies in a way too. So it was pretty exciting stuff. I liked it a lot, and yeah, I feel like they gotta give us mercenaries mode. Give the people what they want for 9, and we'll have to put a disclaimer for this episode that there is like heavy spoilers for the newest game in the series. But
Yeah.
I feel like anybody who would click on this would maybe even already realize that it's gonna be like that because we're covering everything.
I'll write a disclaimer in the description.
Yeah, don't want to ruin it for people, but yeah, speaking of giving people what they want, they failed to give us for 3 games in a row now what we wanted, and that's Ada Wong showing up. Apparently,
Right?
she was scrapped from 8. There was concept art of her in 8 in Village. She was supposed to show up at some point in Village to help Ethan, and they decided not to do it. And maybe in a way it wouldn't make sense because she doesn't know who the fuck that is anyway. She's never met Ethan or has any connection, but obviously she does have connections with Umbrella, so it also would have made sense for her to be there. But yeah, she was cut from 8 and never even fucking mentioned in 9, which is a crime because she's been in every game Leon's been in since every game Leon's been in, she's been in that game. So that kind of irked me that she's not there. Maybe we'll see her in the DLC. But
I hope so, because she's like one of the best characters. She's so layered in her intentions that it makes for a very interesting unraveling. Like, I think that I actually fell in love with her at 4 when she like turns the plane around.
Yeah, she's such a fun character. It's sometimes hard to write a character like her who is, like you said, layered like her, and she's like a double agent. She knows how to play both sides very well, but she's not heartless, and she does care about innocent people, even if she's working sometimes with the bad guys, like to help them out in their intentions. But she's also not. She's also, she's got her own modus operandi, and like she's a very cool character, and it was exciting thinking about her being in 9 and realizing she wasn't in 9 was definitely a disappointment.
Yeah.
Playing through that game, being like,
Yeah.
what, Ada never popped up one time or even got mentioned one time here?
She would have been a perfect fit for 9, I think. Like, it would have been even cool if she didn't even show up on Leon's part, but imagine if she showed up on, like, Grace's part. Grace has no idea who this woman is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But imagine if, like, Ada had shown up in her part for some reason, Yeah.
That would have been interesting.
And then Leon has no idea.
Maybe like gave her like a message for Leon or like something to give to Leon.
Or, like, even just helped her, and then, like, it's never mentioned to Leon, so Leon has no idea that she was there. And then Grace just mentions it in passing that she was helped, and, he has, like, a little smile or something.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
He would know who it is.
Yeah, that would have been a nice touch. See, they really missed the boat on that, and then hopefully the DLC helps some of that, like, fill some of that in. A lot of people were disappointed that Claire wasn't mentioned either, and a lot of other characters, legacy characters, weren't mentioned. Apart from going in the Raccoon City Police Department, and one of the things I actually liked about, well, there's 2 things I liked about the Raccoon City Police Department section, other than when Leon gets there and like they do that pan where he like slowly looks up, and like he like the memories come back to him of what it was like being in there the first time. Um, but I liked the if you like read the diary or like the note that Barry left behind. Barry like he puts together a scavenger hunt for Chris and Jill, and it's like you kids have fun with this one, and like if you like solve it, you find 2 tickets to the zoo. So like he like gave Chris and Jill like tickets to the zoo, which I thought was really cute, and it's like he's really like the dad like character there, you know, to them too, and like just seeing that he left behind like tickets to the zoo for them, and the fact that also if you look at Barry's schedule and that he has written down, he talks about having to pick his daughters up from soccer practice, which is more like, you know, fleshing out of like the characters, because we've seen his daughter, well, one of his daughters before, and heard about his other daughter. That never knew that they were soccer players, never knew that Barry was a soccer dad. That's just like a, you know, just a fun little like, you know, tidbit there that like further like, you know, fleshes out the characters in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, that is cute, actually. That makes me sad, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, it's really cool. It's like, man, so Chris and Jill were gonna get to go on a nice little like date at the zoo, but I guess it didn't happen because the whole outbreak situation.
Oh, that's cute too. I guess.
Yeah.
Are Chris and Jill a thing?
A lot of people think that they might be. I think that there's like novelizations of the games, which I don't think are like canon, but like I know that they're like really close. I don't know. They could just be really good platonic friends, Chris and Jill, but I always thought like maybe they'd be like a thing like together, but obviously we've never heard anything. Once again, it's one of those things where it's like it drives me nuts that they neglect to like mention certain things, because in 5 you see you know, Jill and Chris, they were super close friends, good partners, and Jill goes missing before the events of 5, and then obviously later on in 5 she comes back around, but yeah, you never hear her mentioned again after that. Like really, like Chris doesn't talk about her in 6 or 7 or 8, so I don't know what the hell happened with Jill. Like they could be married, and it could just be one of those things where it's just they don't talk about. He just doesn't talk about her at work because there's really no reason to.
I mean, I guess I get it at the same time, because like the romance aspect isn't really part of what they're going for. It's not really focused on the relationships as much as it is the survival aspect. So I mean, I kind of get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just one of those fan things, you know. The whole romance thing is like a fan thing, and probably just for me, it's a remnant of, you know, how big of a Final Fantasy fan I am, because the romance thing is a big thing in Final Fantasy. So I kind of just expect it out of like any series.
Right.
I'm like, nope, these characters have to have romance in their lives. It's just how it is. But yeah, speaking of romance, do we want to get into that? Do we want to get into that question?
I think we've already narrowed down quite a few people, because Sherry's just out of the question.
Sherry's not. Yeah.
Jill is with Chris, apparently. So the only other 2 feasible options, I think, from what I know of the series, are Claire and Ada.
Which is like a huge debate within the fan base. Some of the fan base are just really weird about it. But like, I don't know, because like we've seen way more chemistry with Leon and Ada than we did with Leon and Claire, because Leon and Claire only shared the screen together in like when it comes to the games in the second game, and they didn't really share the screen that long. They, you know, they met up throughout the game, and then at the end they escaped together with Sherry. But you know, like, I don't know. Sherry did say something about them adopting her as their daughter, which is also makes it weird that people want Leon to be with Sherry.
Yeah, that's just weird.
But like that, like it's fucking weird. But like no, I feel like they've been teasing the stuff with Ada for so long that it's like it's gotta be. You know, for me, I think it's gotta be, and I'm definitely interested in the DLC to see who, if they actually reveal that in the DLC, and it'll be pretty cool. It'll be pretty cool to see.
I will be severely disappointed if it's not Ada, because of the fact that I just feel like she is the perfect character for him. Everybody says that she's too much of a like hardened, well, without lack of a better word, like biatch, you know, to be with him. But I think it's the opposite. I think that when you see her in the scenes with him, she's actually got a bit of a soft side for him.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell she has a soft side for most people, because like you said before, she isn't a horrible person. She's a double agent. But I think there's a particular softness with Leon especially, and I would be very disappointed if Ada wasn't even on the table.
Yeah, no, like I just can't see any other viable option at all. Like for me, Claire didn't even cross my mind as like Leon's like who would be with Leon in the series. Yeah, like for me, it just seemed obvious, and so yeah. And then people brought up like stuff out of left field, like Ashley as well, and
No,
like,
that's even more weird.
Yeah, but like that's even more weird. Even though Ashley did try hitting on him at the end of 4, I think in the remake they kind of like changed. They might have changed it in the remake. I mean, I finished the remake last time I played it was a couple years ago, all the way through.
They didn't change it from what I remember.
Oh, so she still asks Leon if Ashley still asks Leon if he wants to go back to her house for some overtime.
Yeah.
Like that's so fucking weird.
It is weird. Like to me that's not even an option just because they've met each other once. He saved her. And there's a difference between I feel the same way with Claire. There's a difference between loving someone because they've saved you, because that's an infatuation. That's not love. Mm-hmm. You're just grateful for them. But yeah. Ada, she holds her own, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And Ashley is just weird because like she's the president's daughter. She's like what 20 by the time, and I know he's still probably in his 20s in 4, but like it's just weird. It's a weird dynamic.
Yeah, that's another one that I just never jived with them like being a thing. Like, yeah, any viable romance option for me was always just Leon and Ada, and I think that's hopefully what they go with for the DLC. I'm definitely looking forward to it because I love Resident Evil 9 and I can't wait to have more content to play through in that game.
Other people have said Grace, and I was like, where the hell did they get married?
That don't make sense.
In that entire game. It don't make sense. Where did they have time? Make sense.
Yeah, like that doesn't that doesn't make sense. No, Leon had a wedding ring already.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
He's already married.
And it brings me back to my original point of like, you know, he saved her, and that would kind of be more infatuation than anything, you know. Although I do think it's so cute that after the credits roll, it shows them, like, her talking with Leon, like, months later and everything, and like they became
friends. And that's really cool. They became friends afterwards. Yeah.
I actually have a question.
I love that.
Because there's something about the Resident Evil series that I don't really understand. Is this entire zombie thing happening while everything else is going on? Like, because after the credits roll, so are there still zombies? And they're just having a casual chat?
Yeah, I feel like there's always going to be people in league with Umbrella. Obviously, we see at the end that there's still people retrieving samples and stuff at the end, finding things. Actually, I think the people they showed at the end were supposed to be the Wolves, which are Chris Redfield's people, like his fucking team. Yeah, those are his guys. That were scouring the fucking remains of everything at the end. But so the Wolves are still active and they're like at play against the Umbrella Corporation people, like whoever the evil entity. like is now, because like it got confusing when they had like Neo Umbrella and shit like that. But like, yeah, like there's still people who are creating and manufacturing these viruses and harvesting them, and it's gonna keep going, obviously, like beyond time, because there's always gonna be somebody finding a way to, infect like massive areas. So I think for now, like everything is supposed to be like resolved, but yeah, it's obviously not for long. It's gonna keep going because there's always new viruses and people finding them. Um, a character that we didn't talk about from 9 that appeared, which also drives me crazy because, well, actually, two of them do. Two of them appear technically, but Hunk appears.
Oh, yeah.
Well, who we assume to be Hunk, which it's got to be because there's no super soldier like that, like in the series other than him. And yeah, the fight him and Leon have, and then Leon literally hitting him in the throat with a hatchet, which would kill him, but it didn't kill him because his body disappears after that. So Hunk's just unstoppable, apparently. But so they could bring Hunk back, which this isn't a slight against him, but really, fucking Hunk, really, he was only in the second game as like a unlockable character. Same thing with Tofu, which Tofu also appears in the Raccoon Police Department. I'm not sure if you've seen that.
No.
Tofu is literally just he's literally just a big block of tofu that you could get in the original Resident Evil 2. Yeah, original Resident Evil 2. Hunk was one you could unlock to play as, and then you could unlock Tofu as well. And yeah, Tofu is just this big thing of tofu with the police hat on.
Okay.
But yeah, you can see him walk past the windows of the Raccoon Police Department when you're playing as Leon, which is fucking hilarious.
What, tofu?
Yeah, just a big fucking thing of tofu.
No, I didn't see that. That's terrifying.
Yeah, Tofu is there.
Is he a bad guy?
No, he's just this fucking one-off like character that you could play as if you like completed the original Resident Evil 2 within like a certain amount of time on PS1.
Hell?
Same thing with Hunk. And then they brought Hunk back again for the DLC and Resident Evil 2 remake.
I'm gonna have to be able to look out for that next time I play.
Yep. So, yeah, they bring back Tofu and Hunk. Here you go. But, we're never gonna tell you about these other characters anymore. You're on your own with them. Oh, shoot, one more character one more thing that gets mentioned. I don't know how familiar you are with the Rebecca Chambers and Wesker thing where he has the photo of her in his desk, and he also had the photo like locked away in the like a locker in 9. If you could find that photo again. And I'm like, dude, Wesker like really is obsessed with this photo of Rebecca. What a weirdo.
Right?
Wesker, the ultimate gooner. I love Rebecca Chambers. Great character, too, that we never really seen. Well, we're going to see her again soon since they're remaking Resident Evil 0. So I'm really excited about that. So basically she'll finally be back in the fold again in a way since they're remaking her game. So that's exciting. You can play as her in the Mercenaries mode of 5 as well, which I always like that she has this little move that she does because she's a nurse, like a healer type girl, like, and she does this one fireball move that she does where she uses the first aid spray with a lighter to make a fireball to like shoot at the zombies, which is pretty fucking cool. She blow torches them with it. But yeah, that was one of the little Easter eggs from the raccoon section that I didn't mention.
I didn't know that, and now that's terrifying to me.
Tofu.
No, now I'm gonna be like paranoid every time I'm walking around and I see the windows.
Yeah, Tofu's just stalking around out there, just chilling. Like, holy shit.
Now, one of my questions that I wanted to ask, because I think I think it's a fair question. Is do you think, because Leon is obviously getting older, and I think that we can agree that Leon is probably like the major face of Resident Evil, right? I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah,
Like I would think. Like when you think of Resident Evil, you think of Leon.
yeah, or Chris.
Yeah, or Chris. Now, if Leon retires and they never have him in another game, do you think that the Resident Evil series will be a hit, or do you think that it will start to decline?
Um, I don't. I think the Resident Evil series. When you get past all the pageantry, like the character stuff like that, I think it continues to grow. I think that the gameplay speaks for itself, and people love people love the gameplay first and foremost. I think the characters is like an added layer to it, but I've seen people enjoy games from playing 7 as their first game and loving it, and playing 8 and 9 after, and not really knowing much about the older games, so they would never have encountered Leon anyway. So I feel like, yeah, for like legacy fans, it'll be like a sad day when it's like, okay, it's not being used anymore. But yeah, I don't think it's going to really affect the overall trajectory, personally, of the game.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's just my thoughts. I don't know about how you feel on it.
I don't know. I think that it won't change the hype for the series, but I think that if they decide to retire Leon, Chris, like all the major players, I think that if they take them away slowly, I think that's when you'll start seeing a bit of a decline. But I think once, they make like because they're going to make like Resident Evil 15 probably in like 25, 50
Hmm.
years, right? We probably won't even be around for it. And I'm sure that there'll be all new characters, all new lore, even. So
Yeah,
I think that people will it'll just keep going. I think it's one of their biggest IPs, and I think that they're gonna profit off it as much as possible.
yeah. No, Resident Evil will never die for sure. It'll continue to survive. Um, and yeah, I think it's cool that I think Grace will be a character that we'll see more of in the future, and I really hope we do, because she's a very, very endearing character. She quickly became like a favorite character of mine for sure. Um, I think seeing her more will be good in the future. That's why I didn't like what they did with the Winters family. They were 2 games straight, um, but the Winters family like thing didn't really end with 8, because, like I said, Rose could still be a thing later on, and she has connections with Chris as well.
Hmm.
So I feel like we'll see more of her. So I think that they're already building towards the future very much of the series, with characters like Rose and Grace. They're younger characters. Um, so I think we'll be seeing a lot more of them into the future games once there's no more, you know, exposition of Leon, Chris, and I hope we see more. I hope we see Jill again, and Claire again, and speaking of future younger characters, as Moira, of course, Barry's daughter, and then Barry has another daughter, Polly, which we've never gotten to see really. Um, I don't know. It's almost like it's gonna be like they could make like a Charlie's Angels type of fucking Resident Evil game eventually,
Yeah, and who
with all
knows?
the female characters that
Yeah,
they have built up that
I
are, yeah,
I
younger
mean, Grace
characters.
might be the new face of Resident Evil.
Yeah, she could be. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Leon's Angels.
Yeah, Leon's Angels.
He's just like the old man, just like giving them orders and shit. And yeah, it's literally like Rose and freaking Grace and Moira and everybody. That'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, that would be kind of funny actually. Yeah, but other than that, like, I think that the Resident Evil series is just such a success on its own. Like, it's something that when you mention it, people either think of the movies or they think of the games, and I think that like Resident Evil will just always have
it,
a spot.
it is fascinating to me actually, because I never really got into the movies, but it's fascinating to me that yeah, Resident Evil, it's an insane series or franchise because I can bring up Resident Evil to like almost anybody, and they'll either be familiar with the movies or the games or both. And I've actually met people who've never played the games, but they love the movies. They're like, "Oh, I love horror movies, and I love the Resident Evil movies." Like they're not gamers, but like they talk about the movies, and it's like that's kind of interesting because like what other franchises really like that, where it's like so like you know there's something for everybody in it,
Mm-hmm.
like like there's nothing else like that. Like I go bring up Final Fantasy to people, and they're like, "Oh, I've seen like Advent Children or like this or like movies like wise." Like no, like they're all in if they're a Final Fantasy person, like like it doesn't have like a separate like fan base for the movies and other things like that. So
No,
that's
I
kind of
agree.
unique
Yeah.
with Resident Evil. Yeah.
Shouts out to the Resident Evil movie because it was filmed in Toronto. So,
Ooh, like the very first one with Mila Jovovich and all
yep.
that.
Where she's running
Wow.
along the building. I think it's at the very end. I only know this because my friend did a vlog recently where he was actually at the towers that they did that, like in the background.
Yeah.
And he was saying that it's either, I think it's at the end of the movie where she's running from, I don't know who it is, but she's running from somebody. And she's running along the tower. And those are the towers that they ran along, were the ones in Toronto.
That's freaking cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you got all kinds of cool like things like like I was actually watching Tommy Boy with my friend the other night. It was his first time watching it, and he's listened to the podcast before, and I was like, yeah, my podcast partner actually like told me that they filmed this movie close to her hometown. Like
Literally right
he thought,
outside.
yeah, he thought that was so cool. He's like, dude, that's awesome. I was like, yeah,
It's even more cool when you realize that the place that they filmed it, I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to dox or anything myself. People will know though. It's been filmed in 3 locations, so you got to narrow it down. But this place is like non existent on a map. Like, you would have to really go out of your way to look for this place. And just the fact that they filmed it there, like some parts, is really cool because it's such a nobody town, you know? It's not even a town, it's just like a county, you know?
yeah, yeah. It's really cool. Like like I don't know. It's like my little tidbits that I bring onto the podcast always have to do with like wrestling references, and then you always have these really cool like references where it's like, oh, this was like recorded like where I live. I'm like, that's freaking sweet.
Mm-hmm. So there we go.
Yeah,
Resident Evil was filmed in Toronto. My not my hometown, but close.
yeah. Yeah, I appreciate the movies. I've seen parts of them, and I've seen like the first movie and stuff. I thought Mila Jovovich, she does an amazing job, and I like that I like that the game is a different like universe of its own. It's got similarities to the games, but it's its own story and its own trajectory. It's like a different retelling of things. Because obviously her character Alice doesn't exist at all in any of the games,
Mm-hmm.
but the mansion, the Spencer Mansion, is where they are in the first game or the first movie, I believe. So that's a thing that's similar to the game. There's the Nemesis one and Jill also appears in the movies as well, which was also interesting to me. So Jill exists in 2 different universes. She is in the movie universe, and she shares a different role in that universe than she does in the game universe. Then, of course, there's the CGI movies that also are like supposed to be like I think connected to the game universe, but also I think also not canon to that universe. So it's like another universe as well. The Resident Evil franchise is very strange like that. It's like these branching different world lines, I guess.
Yeah, the movies seem interesting. They're not ones that I've ever seen myself, unless it was something that I've turned on and just kind of watched in the background at one point, because I recognized the character. So I recognized Mila Jovovich's character. So I'm sure I've
Yeah.
seen at least some of the movie. It never really clicked, I guess, like kept with me.
Yeah, like for me, it was always like the fact that it was called Resident Evil was like I was bound to check it out eventually, and I did, and I just wasn't as into the movies. I was like, I don't know, like I don't know what I was expecting. It works for some people though, but for me, it was like nah. Like for me, Resident Evil is the games, and that's what I focus on as a fan of the Resident Evil franchises, primarily the games. But I appreciate that there's all this other media out there as well.
So, my last question to you is which what is your favorite, ultimate favorite? If somebody held a gun to your head and they were like, name your favorite Resident Evil right now game, which one would it be?
Oh, okay. For real, I would actually have to go with now. I'm hoping that the remake like makes it even better. But this is unpopular maybe, but I like Resident Evil Zero. I don't know why. There's something about that game that I really, really enjoy. I like the fact that you could switch between like Rebecca and Billy, and like the item storage was weird in that game though, but also it was different. Like you could leave your items anywhere you wanted, like on the ground. Just leave them on the ground and come back and pick them up in that same spot later on.
Mm-hmm.
So there was an item box in that game that was connected throughout the whole game. You had to actually run back to the spot where you dropped those items to get them again. But it made the inventory management even more like, of a thing, and like more, you had to really think more with your items and stuff. And yeah, it was realistic, obviously. I mean, shit, that's what you do in real life. You dropped it on the floor, you'd have to come back and pick it up later. There's
Yeah.
no box that's just automatically a bottomless box with all your shit in it that you keep finding over and over again in different areas to pick up things. But obviously, since Rebecca is one of my favorite characters, it's the one game where you get to really play as Rebecca. The remaster was cool. The remake, hopefully, is even better. Billy was a cool character, that another one that I wish we could see return into the series again. His story was interesting, and yeah, so yeah, I don't know. Like I have a lot of good memories of the original on GameCube as well. So yeah, there you have it. Resident Evil Zero is actually my favorite one, and that might surprise a lot of people.
I'm gonna have to give it a try on your recommendation then.
Yeah, I like it. It's interesting. It's obviously another prequel to one, and yeah, especially if you play it after one and then you go back and see like some of the stuff, it's really interesting. Hell, playing it after two is also interesting because the underground facility from two is part of Zero as well. So it also makes it's cool just going back and playing it after playing those games. Honestly, too.
Okay.
Yeah, seeing like how it all like was set up and stuff like that. They actually referenced, well, because it's been rumored that the game's being remade, and they kind of confirmed it in 9 when you're in the the orphanage section playing as Emily in the orphanage section, and like seeing the little toys, like they have the train set up, like the little train, and it's right by where the mansion is, and the mansion has the bears lined up, like, and it's the exact amount of bears for Chris, Jill, Barry, Wesker, all lined up in front of the building. And then obviously the train was there because the train's obviously a reference to Resident Evil Zero. It's pretty cool how they always find a way to reference those games and like confirm, like wink and nod, that those are the games that they're currently like remaking right now. Because they're remaking Zero, 1, and Code Veronica. So that's exciting.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be interesting to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's your favorite game so far that you've played in the series?
I would say Revelations, just because I have so many good memories of playing it at work on my 3DS.
Yeah.
I bought it when I was working night shift at Walmart, and yeah, I would just play on my lunch breaks and that, and I could not get enough of it. I think I beat it in about 3 shifts.
Yeah.
And
Exploration in that game was actually pretty good. On the boat.
yeah.
As Jill. Yeah.
And I've been
But
playing it again on my Switch, like just the. It's not really like a mercenaries mode. It's kind of just a combat mode.
it's raid mode
Yeah,
is what they called it in Mercenaries or not Mercenaries in Revelations 1 and 2.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is fun. I would
It
say
is.
though, the replayability aspect for 9 has made it probably my favorite. I mean, it's the first one that I want to go back to and actively play over and over again and actually do all the challenges for.
Yeah, I haven't done the speed run myself yet for it, but I've done some of the no healing runs. I can't do the no blood collecting run yet because I still haven't gotten the trophy for collecting enough blood.
I am halfway through that one. I'm doing a no
Yeah,
healing, no blood collecting.
yeah,
So I'm halfway
yeah,
through.
that'll
So
be exciting. Yeah, yeah.
okay.
I want to platinum the game, but I also feel like I suck when it comes to doing the hardest difficulty, even when I have the shit unlocked, like the unlimited guns and stuff like that,
Mhm.
because there's always a portion of the game, and it's usually right at the beginning where you don't have any weapons, and it's always where you're getting hoarded by zombies, and it's hard to even escape them, and one bite kills you anyway
Mhm.
because of the difficulty setting. It's happened to me in 2 and 3 when I go on the highest difficulty, because obviously you have to get to the item box or the portion of the game when you get your gun to actually use it, so you can't just do it right at the beginning. And for some reason, it never fails that I fucking fuck up and get bit over and over again. Then I just rage quit.
Well, hopefully you
I'm
can do
like, fuck,
9.
I can't even get to my fucking unlimited weapon yet.
That's all right.
So, yeah, I don't know. I'll try eventually. But yeah, I'm more or less just right now looking forward to the DLCs and hopefully Mercenaries mode as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
So yeah, that was Resident Evil.
Yeah, that was Resident Evil. I know that my friend will probably he's gonna be mad I didn't invite him on to talk about Resident Evil. Yeah, I was thinking about it. Sorry, Kai. I
Oh,
was thinking about it
oh
because he
man,
loves it.
that would have been awesome,
I know, and
man.
I thought about it, but I think he works a lot during the time that we do this. So, and when he's not working, he's streaming. So I just didn't want to bother him because I know he's busy, really busy.
Yeah,
So if you're listening to this, Kai, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I really wanted your input on the Resident Evil stuff, but he can leave it in the comments.
yeah. Shouts out to Kai.
The guy who made
Well,
our thumbnail.
hell yeah, dude!
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that again. That's awesome stuff, man.
So, but yeah,
So yeah,
that
you're
was Resident
just a part
Evil.
of you. Yeah, he's a big part of the uh, before the ball drop family as anyone else. He's part of
Exactly.
it. Um, so say something of LoFiGrizzly,
LoFiGrizzly as well.
another part of the family. I have thought about the idea of getting more people involved as well, on episodes. That would be exciting going
Mhm.
forward to get guests and other people as well. Yeah, have I thought about it? There's certain people that I've wanted to reach out to, but I'm not sure if I could get them to do this, but it'd be cool if I could.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Maybe
Anybody
we'll have
from
a guest on here eventually.
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
Add a whole new dynamic to it.
And yeah, that'll be fun.
But yeah, I mean, you have anything else to add here?
No, that was pretty much it. You?
No, nothing comes to mind right now. This was another fun discussion though. Resident Evil, just in general episode. See, there's so much more to talk about in the podcast. So I'm really excited for the next episode.
Yes.
So,
Which we will
and
figure out.
some YouTube ideas as well that we have as well that we'll definitely get around to. And I'm down to do the Resident Evil 5 or 6 playthrough whenever.
Sure. Yeah,
So we'll talk about that too.
absolutely. All right.
Hmm.
Well, guys, this has been another episode. Sorry if they're a bit sporadic over the next little bit. We've both had a bit of a life changes, so it's kind of hard to find time to record. Well, we usually end up recording on a Sunday anyway, so
Hmm.
Sunday now instead of Friday.
Yeah,
The
it's changed a
Lord's
bit over
Day.
time. Yeah.
All right. But, guys, that was Resident Evil, and we'll be back hopefully next week with a new episode we haven't decided on yet, but that's part of the fun.
Hell yeah.
All right, and these were your hosts, Rebecca
James.
and we'll see you guys later.
See ya.